So the frame is, in my view, again, using the word strategy, really is all about who are you? What are you about? The sense of purpose is really, really has to be the way that you navigate the future. It's the only thing that allows you to choose what really makes sense. Then you have to really look wide open and see what the future potentials are. And the space and intersection in between is where magic happens. That is where you innovate. That is where you start to explore what else is possible and what is it that we can do that nobody else can do, determined by our purpose and our vision that is really specific to who we are. And that is where you get your resilience and your sustainable advantage over time. And so it's really clear that we are somewhat divided in what it is that we do and what it is that we think. And we have to really get a hold on that, because otherwise we're kind of driving. We're doing all of the email, the phone calls, the meetings, the email, the phone calls, the meetings. We are all busy. Everyone I know is kind of like living with a long snorkel of like just trying to keep on top of everything. And it's really imperative that what it is that we are busy doing is about busy building that future, that we take our heads up and out and align them so that when crisis falls, we don't go, who did that? Who can I blame? How did that happen? And we never saw it coming. Because crisis, most often, is just the result of unanticipated change. So the more up and out that we see, that we can align with what it is that we're doing on a day-to-day basis, is a critical element of managing your businesses and your clients. So social networking, you know, if you think of LinkedIn and Facebook, which are probably the two most common ones. And Twitter, you can't really call a community. It's more kind of a dashboard of all of the global memes that are, you know, and it's kind of cool that way. You can see a lot of what's happening in the world. But it's not the same kind of conversational community relationship builder. It is an adjunct to it, in my opinion. But social networking is not a destination. It isn't about that Facebook and Google wave and whatever are going to win out. Social networking is a feature. And it is a feature that you want to take into your world, your brand, and those of your clients. And that's really critical to do, so that your website should be embedded with social networking features. You want to seed it with content that hosts a conversation that has meaning in people's lives, that is directly related to who you are and what you stand for. So that when we look at all of this, how is it that we bring it together? So for that far and future and all the impacts that might be happening elsewhere in the world, what does that mean for your strategies here today? How do you start to think about the world and your place in it? How do you think about those potentials and where the world is headed and what your future is? Because you're in that world and you're in that future. And we need to then go into how do we accommodate it. And as I had mentioned, the limiting factor is us, the other agent and domain of change. We will only accept change to the degree that we can make sense of it. So that when we do talk about stem cell debate, for instance, another one of these pressures, new technologies and capabilities, how do we live with that? And then we duke it out for a while. Migratory pressures, how do we know who we are, sense of identity with that? And we duke it out for a while. And that's what governance is all about. Governance, and this is just an aside, my personal opinion, when we look to our political leaders to lead change, we call them leaders, and to me that seems a little bit like backward, because in this country anyway, and I think in general, Government is designed to be reactive. Change comes from under. Change comes from the people who harness it and move with it. Change comes most often in society from social movements, for those people who begin to reconcile and see and adopt things and say, oh, this is a new reality. And then we start to shift our rules. And we can do that with markets as well, and our markets are expanding, as you know. How do we go expansively global and hyper-local at the same time? And that really is one of the critical challenges that every business has to answer. As we did in the beginning, when you said yes, and you said no, and then you said, how do you do? Every single person, these are your resources. Because every person represents just a host and a world of opportunity that exists in front of you, but that you do not yet know. And you do have access to it. I've done this kind of work for organizations, and these are all very commercial organizations, but also for governmental agencies and nonprofits and startups and churches. Change affects us all in the same way, so the principles are the same. Whether it's B2C or B2B, it's the same function of what it takes to make really good, smart decisions and the kind of future that you're going to invent. So when you roll that back and you roll it and plan in reverse, you're looking at what your assumptions are about the future, the outcomes, and the resources that you're going to assign. And let's just say that that picture, you kind of go, okay, so let's put a timeline on the, oh my God, well maybe, I don't know, 10 years out? Best guesstimate, because you don't know. Who needs to be a part of that picture? How much money might be there? And then you cut it in half, and you okay, 5 years. 5 years. Who would be a part of that picture? What partnerships might we have to put together? Guesstimate about money. What resources will we put to it? Where would we be? What will we have accomplished? In 2 years' time, in 1 year time, in 6 months, in 3 months, in 1 month, in 2 weeks, in 1 week, when you leave the meeting, what is it that you're going to activate? So that, again, all of your busyness isn't just a waste of the extraordinary resources that people are, all the talent and time, but that you're really getting busy about making your future, and that there is alignment there.